questions comes from My Maru.
My
Maru, that's right, yes. And their question is, it's from Oscar. And how old were you when you first discovered that you loved reading?
Good question, Oscar.
My mum is an English. So what that means is, when you grow up, you get books forced upon you all the time when you're growing up. So my mum was always going, Tim, keep reading, Tim, keep reading, Tim, keep reading. And at first I didn't like it. I was like, oh, I don't want to keep reading, I want to be outside playing. But as gradually I got into better and better books, and I gradually started to really love reading. And now I always have a book with me.
Well, ever since I was born, my dad is really smart, and he used to tell me all these facts, and I used to love finding out all these things he had to say. And I asked him how he learned everything, and he told me that he just used to read lots. So when I was little, I wanted to read every book in the world so that I could be as smart as my dad.
Oh, nice one. Well, my mum was a teacher as well. So I also had a lot of words and a lot of books in my life at a really, really young age.
That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah. But it was a wonderful way, and I just loved the characters. So I was really, really young when I first started reading, and yeah, I still love it.
Yeah, I was reading from an early age, but I suppose I found it difficult. And I remember my mum going, "You have to read this book." And then I'd sit there and I'd read the same thing, and I wasn't concentrating. So it took me a little bit of time, but now I absolutely love reading. I'm reading all the time. So yeah, it's fun.
I think I've always been reading. I grew up liking picture books to begin with, and then I started. My mum used to teach anatomy and reflexology, like massage and stuff like that. And she used to let me colour in. There were little parts of the anatomy books that you could colour in. Yeah. So like when you're learning, you associate the colour to the parts of the body, and that was the first thing I ever read. So I would colour those parts, and that's why I'm sort of interested in all human body stuff like that. But I think that's what got me into reading. So I was probably like 6 or 7 when I really started loving it. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Pro the Public has a question for us, and the question comes from Ethan. And his question is, have you ever turned one of your favourite books into a song?
Oh, that's cool. I think that's a good idea if we haven't.
Yeah.
We might collaborate.
I used to, when I was studying at school, and I was trying to remember like maths equations or scientific facts, I used to turn them into a jingle, so that without asking the question in the exam, and I just remember the sum and then write it down. Yeah.
I had a girlfriend once. Yeah. I had a girlfriend, and I wrote. There's a famous writer called Shakespeare. Who's heard of Shakespeare? Yeah. Well, he wrote these things called sonnets. And this sonnet for the teachers is called My Mistress' Eyes Are Nothing Like the Sun. Now, I decided to put it to music and sing it to my girlfriend. Yeah.
Are you still with that girlfriend?
No. It's a good sonnet, though.
Okay, Corniston, we've got Jessica, and her question is, what is your favourite book from when you were at school?
I loved Harry Potter. I started reading it. I remember I was in year 7 when I started reading it, and I still love it. Absolutely obsessed with Harry Potter. I loved every single book. But I think the 3rd one was my favourite. And the 4th.
I think.
And the 5th was good.
I think in year 6 I started reading a book called The Diary of Anne Frank, which we read in year 5 and 6 actually, which I think it teaches you a lot about history at the same time as the story of a young girl going through war and stuff like that. I think that taught me a lot at quite a young age, and it's very interesting.
I love the Narnia books, so I read them when I was, my parents used to read them to me when I was little, before I went to bed. And then when I was in school, I went back and reread them again, and it was a whole nother world to go back and read it, so that was great. Narnia books, awesome.
I really liked reading all the Disney books when I was little, and then I read like adult books when I got older, but now that I have little children in my family, like my niece and my nephew, I'm reading all the Disney books to them again, and I see them in like a different light because I see what the meaning is behind them and the story, plus they're really cute and fun to read.
I always loved and have loved Paul Jennings.
Go Paul.
Yeah, great guy.
Go
Great
Paul.
guy, Jennings. Go Paul.
Top Paul.
Okay, Epping. Are you there, Epping? If you're there, can you unmute your mic and say hello to us?
Epping. Where's Epping?
Yes, let's just go ahead with a question from Epping.
Oh.
And also, what about Barnia? Barnia, are you there? Can you unmute your mic if you're there? Barney, from Braden, and his question was, who is your favourite author? Well, we know who yours is.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul Jennings.
My favourite author is Philip Pullman. He wrote his Dark Materials, which is they made a movie of.
Right. Enid Blyton is pretty. I
Yes.
think that takes you into like really magical worlds that you can't imagine. Like when I read The Folk of the Faraway Tree, you really want to be there. Like it's one of those stories that you read and you just, I want to be there so badly. Like Hogwarts. Yeah, like
Just the amount of detail.
Yes.
It's incredible.
You want to go into a tree and be real.
Yeah, and I love all sort of authors, but I'm loving at the moment autobiographies, and that's when someone writes a story about their own life and their own experiences. And the book that I just finished was Andre Agassi's book, and he was a tennis player and he just retired, and he was amazing in the detail that he went into, and I learned stuff about Andre that no one else would ever have known unless he had written that book. So I love reading autobiographies.
Yes, we are.
Have you got someone who'd like to ask your question?
Yes, we do. This is Tiana.
What's your question, Tiana?
Have you always liked reading?
Yeah, sure.
Reading's very important for me.
Yeah, reading's really important because that's how you learn lots of things. Like you get told and you get teachers who tell you, but you learn so much from reading.
I think we've always loved reading, like the questions that have come up, where are your favourite books? I think most of them are from when we've been small, so we remember them for a long time. So like we today are still talking about books that we read when we were maybe 5 or 6. So I think they stick around with you for a long time. So it shows that we have always loved reading and we probably continually will forever.
And it's great when we do have a great book that we like. Because we spend so much time together, it's great because we can come to work and talk about the book that we're reading and why we love it, and we learn about other books that we should read. So that's something that maybe you can do with your school and your friends, with your book club, and when you read a book, if you find a book that you really like, tell your friends why you like it, and maybe there'll be someone that likes that book too.
Another good thing to do with reading is to read aloud. Now, everyone goes, oh, read aloud, it's the same as reading. But I guarantee if you have read aloud competitions, they're a lot of fun actually. Yeah, good fun.
Anna, that was lovely. And Tullamore, are you there? Can you unmute for us?
Yes. We're here. Hi.
Hi, guys.
Why is it that you like being a part of the Pyramid Reading Challenge?
Good question. Why do we like being a part of the Premier's Reading Challenge, everybody?
Well, probably to get that word out there to more and more kids to start reading more. I think if we can get people to start reading more, then it's going to be an effect that everyone starts to read, because like we said, you start talking about the books you're reading, so then someone will read a book and tell their friend to read a book, so we're going to start reading more, I think, now.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to read, and it will come in handy and will help you out through your entire life. So the earlier you start, the better.
Yes, I agree. And you can do amazing things, like we were saying before that Kelly's learning another language. What language are you learning?
I'm learning Spanish at the moment.
And without being able to read English, she would have a lot harder time. She would have a harder time learning to speak Spanish.
Yeah, reading's really cool because you can learn stuff, but it also allows your right side of your brain, which is your creative side, to think a lot. So when you're reading a book and you start thinking about what the scene might look like, what the characters will look like, and it just gets your creative side of your brain working really well.
Thank you, Tullamore. We've got...
Is there a character that you love so much that you would just love to be for a day?
Think about it.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Well, mine would be Captain Underpants.
Oh, yeah.
What about you?
I'd like to be a girl called Jenny Friendly because she's friendly to everyone.
Oh, nice.
That's nice.
Well, I don't really have a favourite, but I'd love to be one of the people in Paul Jennings' books.
Yeah.
They're always getting into trouble.
But yeah,
I just want to say a really big thank you to Hi-5. You have been fabulous, and all the people out there and all the people here, can we say a big thank you for Hi-5 for all the time they've given us
Unmute
today.
your microphones and give a big round of applause, everyone.
Everybody.